This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. The Research Talks podcast here on Stockbox with Alan Green again. Now, Alan, we're actually looking at a very fine weekend, aren't we? But unfortunately, I believe you're actually not going to be around to enjoy it.
No, good morning, Mark, and good morning, everyone. Yes, as luck and chance would have it, we're in for a fantastic weekend, hottest weekend of the year so far in the UK. And this afternoon, we're jumping on a ferry and we're going to France, my wife and I. And we're going to drive around and look at the D-Day landing sites. Obviously, they've just been celebrating D-Day again over the past week, so we're coming on the tail end of that. But I've done the World War One sites, Vimy Ridge, Poperinghe, and Ypres previously, and I was very keen to see these. So this is the weekend, but by all accounts, the weather forecast isn't too good for the north of France, but hopefully some of that fine weather might just drift a little further south.
Well, let's hope so. But I do wish you a very fine weekend doing that. That should be very interesting to do that. I am also travelling as well, going to London, but it's for sort of just some general family things rather than anything else. So I should be back early next week. But today we're going to be covering company Altona Rare Earths, who recently, they will be listing finally onto the main market over from Aquis, where they suspended a while ago. New ticker as well to go with it. So that'll be good. That hopefully happens on Friday. It's been a long time coming. And also First Class Metals as well, with a bit of a change of strategy. Isn't that right?
Yes, that's right. A change of strategy from First Class Metals. I had a long chat with the chairman yesterday, and also, of course, followers of our channel will know I interviewed Mark Sale a few weeks ago at the Deutsche Goldmesse. So some really interesting developments there. Let's start with Altona, Mark, if that's okay with you. Of course, we have spoken about Altona on many occasions. This is a company seeking rare earth metals to develop and bring to market. Of course, rare earths have a multitude of applications in the day and age that we're in now, and these applications are, of course, in magnets, green technology, military applications, and a whole raft of new generation technology is seeking these metals. The company has been listed on Aquis for the past few years, and of course the move to the London main market was flagged up some time ago, but due to various issues in terms of that transition, and this has happened on a number of occasions previously when I've worked with companies listed on Aquis, it does take a long time to get the move done. But Altona finally have completed that process, and we are expecting the company to list. I believe it's actually on Friday, the 9th of June, but that will probably be confirmed nearer the time. So as the company stands at the moment, when it evolved from its initial history as a company owning coal assets, it's started to undertake due diligence on a number of rare earth projects in Africa, and it looked closely at three projects, which included the Ngoma Rare Earths project in Uganda. It discarded that one and eventually decided to focus wholly on the Monte Moambi Rare Earths project in the Tete province, northwest Mozambique. The Monte Moambi project is a former fluorspar mine, and had been drilled previously over a large area and had intersected rare earth metals in at least 4 areas. But at that point, only 5% of the surface work was undertaken, but substantial grades were extracted from the ground there. And of course, that and the structure of the asset, the way the asset was structured, led the company to take a 20% stake in the Monte Moambe project. A word on the board here. The company's been run since evolving from that coal assets company by Christian Taylor Wilkinson. Now, Christian has a background in public relations and investor relations. Worked at, of course, at Leander Public Relations. The chairman is a gentleman called Martin Wood, chairman and non-executive director, formerly with Vicarage Capital, and chief executive of ASX listed companies previously. The non-executive director and geologist and also chief operations officer Cedric Simone has intimate knowledge of Monte Moambe, having worked there with Seda and Fluorspar, and Cedric is also on the Kenya Chamber of Commerce, and it's significant his involvement with the company as the company now ramps up its efforts and completes this listing. So the company left Aquis at 7.25 pence per share, and it has raised a further £2 million at 5p per share. The directors all took part in the placing, and that includes Christian Taylor Wilkinson and Martin Wood, and also this process involves some board changes where Cedric Simone is stepping up from Chief Ops Officer to Chief Executive Officer. Christian Taylor Wilkinson will step down, but will remain as a full-time employee and shareholder with the company. And the reason for that is quite simple, that the company is entering a highly technical phase of exploration and development. So it's only natural that Cedric, who has known the Monte Moambe project for many, many years, and has the knowledge and experience to take it to the next technical phase, it's only natural that Christian steps up into that role. So that I think is a really positive development for the company. The company's also taken on Louise Adrian as Chief Financial Officer and Executive Director on the admission to the London Stock Exchange. And of course, with the 2 million raise, the company will what it enables the company to do is to move its holding in the Monte Moambe rare earth project from 20% to 51%. So it becomes the majority owner. But it isn't just about Monte Moambe. The company has stated its intention to acquire stakes in a further 2 ionic clay rare earth assets. And once the admission to the London Stock Exchange is complete, I think we're going to see a raft of news flow from Altona. And indeed, I think its evolution as a company has probably been hampered somewhat by the delay in that switch from Aquis to main market. But of course, once it's on main market, it'll be reaching a broader audience. Also funds will be able to invest in the group easily, and it will just facilitate a whole new era in the company's finances, and of course its ability to expand and develop as a company, bringing the Monte Moambe rare earth project not only to late stage but into production eventually as well. So that really is the summary of the position of Altona at present. But of course, the company's dealings are expected to become effective on Friday, 9th of June. The ticker will change from ANR, which was the ticker on the Aquis exchange, to REE, of course, rare earth elements. So that will be very familiar to most investors. And we wish Cedric, Christian, Martin, and the team every success in that listing. But at this level, the company will still have a very modest valuation. So I think, given that it's now acquired a 51% stake in Monte Moambe, we're going to see the valuation start to ramp up, and the potential in the company should now start to filter through down into the valuation and the share price once the company relists.
Excellent. Thank you, Alan. Good summary there. And I'm quite pleased that Altona have continued to conduct work in the background whilst all the shenanigans have been going on with the transition over. And I think they plan to get the scoping study out within a couple of months. So, pretty quick, according to Cedric there. So that's very good. We're going to start to see some numbers and some idea of what the sort of size and opportunity is at Monte Moambe. And then he wants to move on to a PFS in the next sort of 18 months, but he wants to do that in a very robust PFS that can then just be quite easily upgraded into a DFS. So, they are fairly advanced. This is not just drilling, is it? Randomly trying to find, it's not a grassroots exploration. This is now taking on the study stage. So it's getting to the juicy bits. And as you say, it's coming on with a very modest valuation. I think it's a good opportunity. Not many people know about it.
No, I think you're right, Mark, and I think that's the I said it'd been hampered. I'm not saying Aquis has hampered its development at all, but that certainly the switch from Aquis to main market it's been a long drawn out process, and I think it's been difficult for investors to keep focused during that time. But I take your point about Monte Moambe. I mean, with the scoping study. I think First Class Metals, I'm going to talk about in a minute, really have written the book on how to successfully IPO a company. And I'm sure Altona will have looked at what they've done. And as you say, Cedric has stated that they're going to complete the scoping study, get it ready for pre-feasibility study, and then of course on to DFS fairly soon after. But he's also got a lot of historical data to go on to be able to achieve that in a short space of time. Don't forget he's been involved with Monte Moambe now for many years, and of course, the project was previously a fluorspar project, and it's evolved into a rare earths project now. Drilling work was already undertaken there previously, where they intersected these rare earth elements, so they know it's there. But I think now, with the funds and with the main market listing, they've got the resource to be able to scope this out properly and fast track that process, so we can really see accretive value take place within a very short space of time. And of course, with this admission, they moved to a 51% stake in the asset, so they effectively own and operate the asset, and of course the inherent value that comes from that.
Indeed. Excellent. Thank you, Alan. I look forward to them coming on Friday, all being well, and seeing how the market reacts. There's not many opportunities, as I've said a few times, for investing in rare earth companies. So, one to watch. Absolutely.
It's one to watch, very much so, yeah.
Rare earths, very, very, very important going forward. So, moving on, First Class Metals. Mark Sale is over in Canada at the moment, I believe, rubbing moss on his face to make it look like he's working. No, I'm joking.
Yes, he does. He always looks as though he's down, very much down on the ground. But I know Mark, and I know that's what he's doing. And he loves getting his hands dirty. He loves getting down and dirty and actually, on the ground, chipping away at the rocks, getting the samples, examining the samples, and doing the work in the front line, as it were. And of course, I've spoken to Mark. I interviewed Mark at the Deutsche Goldmesh show recently, and he was very excited for what the year would bring. And of course, we're coming up to the anniversary of the IPO for First Class Metals, and the share price has performed really well during that time. We've seen it hit highs of 18.6p, and of course dipped down to 9p just after the IPO, and we're back to that level again now, which still gives the company really the IPO it came to market with at 7.5 million. But there's an awful lot of value being added to the company since that time. When the company came to market, we didn't have the Sunbeam project, and we didn't have the Zigzag Lithium project. Those are now those are now very much within the group, and very much core projects for the company. But they've had a year, and of course the package of assets that the group have on the north shore of Lake Superior, on the Schreiber-Hemlo Gold Belt. They've developed these assets, and they've distilled down and they're now focused on the 4 most advanced projects and bringing those projects this year to drill ready status. So starting with the flagship project, which of course is North Hemlo, and this really comprises 2 parts. So we have the West Pickle Lake joint venture, and West Pickle Lake consists of 33 claims east of the Hemlo property. Now they've discovered an anomaly there which spans some 600 meters. It's open in all directions, so this is when it gets really exciting, because an anomaly and an asset is identified, and where does it end? And as the sampling work is undertaken, it just seems to expand further and further. And of course, the exciting thing is here that they've already sort of pulled grades out of 12.8% nickel, 2.5% copper, and just over the border of their territory, of course, on West Pickle Lake lies Palladium 1, which has its own West Pickle zone, where it too has pulled out of the ground 10.4% nickel, copper, 3.4% copper over 2.3 meters, and similar readings over 1.8 meters. So it's from a geological standpoint, it's entirely reasonable to assume that or expect to find that the anomaly runs through the West Pickle zone owned by Palladium 1 into First Class Metals' own West Pickle Lake area. Hence the joint venture that's already been set up with Palladium 1 to examine and further explore this. Exciting too that, of course, with Palladium 1, Glencore have invested some $6 million Canadian dollars. They own just under 10% of Palladium 1 now, and of course Glencore are very, very sort of keen that they have a real drive to find battery and green technology metals. So the fact they've invested into Palladium 1, if this asset proves up, the West Pickle Lake joint venture proves up, who knows? Sky could be the limit here. It really is exciting. So that's West Pickle Lake. The other element to the North Hemlo asset is Dead Otter Lake, and of course this is close to the Dotted Lake asset owned by Panther Metals. Now at Dead Otter, of course, they've already established 3.1 parts per million gold and molybdenum readings of just under 0.6%. And they've established a mineralized trend there that runs 3 kilometers to the southeast of where those samples were taken. Also on the ground there, grab samples of 19.6 grams per ton gold too, which is hugely exciting. And of course, Mark is on the ground there, getting his hands dirty now, getting further samples from here. And if you follow the First Class Metals Twitter feed, you'll see loads of pictures and videos of Mark and his team on the ground gathering these samples. So there's so much to come from North Hemlo. It's hugely exciting. And of course, the North Hemlo and the ESSA assets are just north of the Barrick gold mine, which of course has produced millions and millions of ounces of gold over a number of years, and is still very much a big producer of gold in the region. So moving on to ESSA, and ESSA is closer to the Barrick gold mine than the North Hemlo assets. The exciting thing about ESSA, and again, I was speaking to the board about this, the geology is very similar to the Barrick gold mine geology, where there's a Hemlo-style shear zone to the east and west. And of course, these shear zones create intrusions that potentially trap mineral-rich fluids. The company has been on the ground there for a month, soil sampling. They have 540 odd samples which have been submitted to the lab for assays, and those results are imminent. So in the next few weeks, I would imagine we'll be getting those samples back. So that should be a hugely exciting boost for First Class Metals. They've submitted an exploration permit there. They're aiming for drill ready status for ESSA in 2023. But it's difficult territory, and unlike Barrick, where a lot of the anomalies are visible on the ground, ESSA is really hard to. It's hard to sort of find anything above the surface there. There've been magnetic surveys undertaken, but certainly the sampling work is going to be the benchmark that I think really establishes whether at ESSA they have something akin to the Barrick gold mine. So we could be weeks or months away from a really game-changing announcement from the company. So the third project, of course, this is a recent one, an earn-in opportunity from Nuensco, the Zigzag Lithium project, which is to the north north of the Hemlo assets. Now the team have been on the ground there, and there's been deep snow. They've undertaken initial reconnaissance and random sampling across an asset that's referred to, and I hope I pronounced this correctly, the Tebi Shugeshik asset. So this is an asset that's thought to be some 800 meters in area. The team were on the ground there. They dug through the snow, and they established lithium was there, and very, the readings equated to 1.25% from the samples that were taken, and these were random samples. So it was an area covered in snow. They dug down, pulled the sample out of the ground, 1.25% lithium, and that's hugely exciting for potential. And again, it's the asset is close to a number of world-class projects, and that's the Landor Resources Junior Lake project is to the south, the Green Technology Metals Seymour Lake project, and this is 2.13 million tons at 1.29% lithium. That's to the west of the Zigzag Lithium project. Battery Age Metals to the north have the Falcon Lake assets, 24.4 meters at 1.48% lithium, big trend there. And Copper Lake Resources to the east on the Marshall Lake asset, which is prospective for copper, zinc, and silver. So, all to play for there, and that's hugely exciting. So then the final assets. There's also McKellar to mention too. So I'll come to that shortly. That was mentioned in an announcement today. But the Sunbeam mine, which of course was acquired by First Class Metals some months back, and this is an historic gold mine. There's the history here goes back an awful long way. And recently, the company realized that the owner Nuensco was selling the asset, and literally jumped at it and decided to acquire the assets there. So they're on the ground there. There are 3 10-kilometer trends, which include the Roy and Pettigrew trends, giving an aggregate exploration area of some 30 kilometers, with what the board have referred to as a litany of gold targets. They've also rediscovered a 3-meter wide quartz vein, which was discovered many years ago, part of the history. And from that, they've taken 30-ounce grab samples, so hugely significant, in terms of establishing the mineralization there. And previously, Nuensco produced grades of 83.5 grams per ton and one sample of 93.3 grams per ton of gold. So that's hugely exciting. The drill targets there are defined and ready. And again, with So with those four, Sunbeam, Zigzag, North Hemlo, and ESSA, they're going to be drilling those assets this year. So the truth machine will go to work and will know exactly, what these assets entail. Also worth noting today, the company announced in an operational update that it had discovered that across its 66 claims covering 12.5 kilometers across Makela, there were rare earth assets or rare earth elements established in a system within there. Further work will be done, and there, of course, is exploration. So that adds further credence to the overall investment case. But as I said right at the start, what First Class Metals have done, they have distilled down the four key assets that they're going to chase after this year. And of course, those are North Hemlo, West Pickle Lake, and of course, Dead Otter Lake, ESSA, Zigzag Lithium, and Sunbeam. And I think the company's got a hugely exciting year ahead of it, and I'm looking forward to the next batch of announcements. And I think we're just weeks away from the first one, which will probably be the soil samples from ESSA.
Yes, a very active field season that they're undertaking at the moment, and I'm hoping to actually speak to Mark while he's on site again, like we did. I think it was last time he was there, which wasn't quite a year ago, but yeah, it's nice to get a summary of what he's been doing, what the objective is, and what they've found out. And also, he said to me in an interview, we want to be drilling on at least one of our properties this year. So I want to find out which one they've decided to drill on, because, of course, that's always exciting when the drill starts turning. So, yeah, a lot of properties, a lot of projects. And, I'm trying to catch up with them to see how it's all going out there.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I know. Well, I spoke to both James and Mark, and you're right. They want to drill on at least one, but I suspect they're going to try and drill 3, possibly even 4 this year. So that's going to be a game changer for the company, given also, I think if you look at the project maps, just look at the other projects around. Zigzag Lithium, you've got 4 major projects around here, so it's a world-class zone for lithium. And with Sunbeam, you've got a gold mine that was producing 100 years ago, and just this almost limitless amount of gold targets, and that's on top of the core assets, of course. North Hemlo, the West Pickle Lake joint venture with Palladium One, the Dead Otter Lake trend extension that they've obtained that grab sample from, and of course ESSA.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Alan, for your summary there today of First Class Metals and Altona Rare Earths. And I do wish you a pleasant weekend on your little long weekend trip to France there. And we will speak again next week.
Speak next week, Mark. Many thanks.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.